Moving on now, one of the top names in President Trump's cabinet is out this morning. The president removed Attorney General Pam Bondi after months of criticism, including of her handling of the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Weijia Jiang is at the White House with more. Weijia, good morning.
Adriana, good morning. Good morning to everybody. This is the second time in less than 1 month that President Trump ousted a member of his cabinet. In a statement, Bondi said she will be, quote, moving to an important private sector role, and she is thrilled about where I will continue fighting for president.
One day after they sat together in the Supreme Court, she was fired. Not quietly, not through a private conversation, through a public statement that said, "We love Pam," while simultaneously showing her the door. And the reason she was fired is not the reason being reported on most headlines today, because this was never about her loyalty to Trump. By every measure, Pam Bondi was one of the most loyal cabinet members this administration had. She ran a Justice Department that went after every name Trump wanted investigated. Letitia James, James Comey, Jerome Powell. She stood at podiums and defended him without hesitation. And it still wasn't enough. Because loyalty in this administration is not the job. Execution is the job. And Bondi didn't execute.
Trump announced her departure Thursday and praised Bondi for overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country, adding, "We love Pam." Trump did not always love the way Bondi handled the Jeffrey Epstein case after she promoted conspiracy theories about a possible Epstein client list.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive.
She later said it never existed.
There was no client list.
And last September, the president also complained publicly that Bondi didn't succeed in prosecuting his political rivals. Pam, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done.
I think serving as President Trump's attorney general is a hazardous business. And
Tom Dupree served as a deputy assistant attorney general under President George W. Bush.
Her failing was not a lack of loyalty. It was a failure to execute. The president made clear from day one that a top priority of his was using the Justice Department as a way to go after the people he felt had treated him.
Sitting on my desk right now. Then there was no client list. Same person, same topic, two completely opposite statements. And that contradiction played out publicly on camera in front of millions of Americans who were watching closely. Became one of the most damaging moments of Bondi's entire tenure. Because the Epstein case is not just a legal matter. It is one of the most politically charged and publicly scrutinized cases this Justice Department was handed. And Bondi's handling of it, the promotion of a client list, then the denial of a client list, generated exactly the kind of noise Trump does not tolerate around his administration. But there was something even more damaging than the Epstein contradiction. Something Trump said publicly, out loud, about his own attorney general. All talk, no action. The President of the United States, publicly, about his own attorney general. When a president says that about a sitting cabinet member on the record, the clock has already started. It is not a warning. It is not a performance. It is the beginning of the end. And now, less than a month after another cabinet firing, Pam Bondi is out. Here is the full breakdown of everything that happened, why it happened, and what it tells you about where this administration is heading next. Because the instinct when you see a loyal cabinet member fired is to ask, what went wrong with the relationship? But that is the wrong question. The relationship was fine. Bondi was loyal. She was vocal. She was visible. She showed up. She defended. She delivered speeches. She stood at podiums. The problem was not loyalty. The problem was results. From day one, Trump made one expectation of the Justice Department crystal clear. He wanted it used as an instrument to pursue the people he believed had wronged him. Letitia James, investigated. James Comey, targeted. Jerome Powell, scrutinized. But the prosecutions Trump wanted most, the ones against his highest profile political rivals, didn't materialize. And Trump said so, publicly. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. That is a president telling the world. His own attorney general is not delivering on the most important task he was given the job to complete. The expert said it directly. Her failing was not a lack of loyalty. It was a failure to execute. And in this administration, failure to execute is the only firing offense that actually matters. Now the Epstein case, because it deserves its own honest examination. When Bondi took office, The Epstein investigation was one of the most watched and most politically sensitive files on her desk. Millions of Americans wanted answers about who was on alleged client lists, about what the investigation would actually uncover, about whether powerful people connected to that case would finally face accountability. Bondi stepped forward and said the client list was sitting on her desk, under active review. The public heard that and believed something was finally moving. Then she walked it back. There was no client list. That reversal, from a file on my desk to there is no file, did two things simultaneously. It destroyed public trust in the Justice Department's handling of a case millions of people were watching closely. And it generated exactly the kind of chaotic, contradictory media coverage that makes an administration look disorganized and dishonest at the same time. For an administration that is acutely sensitive to how it looks, that is not a forgivable mistake. Now look at who comes next. Because the replacement tells you as much as the firing. Todd Blanche, Bondi's former top deputy, has been named acting attorney general immediately. But the frontrunner for the permanent position, according to sources who spoke to CBS News, is Lee Zeldin, former New York congressman, current EPA administrator, Trump loyalist, and someone who has already met privately with the president about this role. Here is what that tells you. Trump is not looking for a different kind of attorney general. He is not recalibrating the expectations of the role. He is looking for someone who can do what Bondi couldn't, deliver the prosecutions he has been waiting for. Zeldin is being considered not because he brings a different philosophy to the Justice Department. He is being considered because Trump believes he will execute where Bondi hesitated. And that calculation, that the solution to a loyal AG who didn't deliver is a more aggressive AG who will, carries consequences that go well beyond any single prosecution. And then there is the story running parallel to this one. The same week Bondi was fired, Army Chief of Staff General Randy George was asked to step down and retire immediately. Not a planned transition, not a routine leadership change. Immediately, he is now among more than a dozen senior military officials removed from Defense Secretary Hegseth's team. The official statement, "We're grateful for his service, but it was time for a leadership change." In the middle of an active war, the Army's top general, removed immediately, while American forces are engaged in combat operations. And this is the pattern that connects everything happening this week. Two of the most powerful institutional positions in the American government, the nation's top law enforcement official and the Army's most senior uniformed officer, both removed in the same week, with the same justification. Not enough loyalty to the mission. That is not a coincidence of timing. That is a deliberate and accelerating effort to reshape the institutions that are supposed to operate independently of presidential preference and replace their leadership with people who will not. Bondi was loyal. She just wasn't aggressive enough. General George served his country, but Hegseth wanted someone else in that chair. The standard is no longer competence. The standard is no longer experience. The standard, increasingly, is willingness. Willingness to use the position the way the administration needs it used. And that shift, happening simultaneously at the Justice Department and inside the military, is the story that deserves more attention than any single firing on its own. Pam Bondi said she is moving to an important private sector role. She said she is thrilled about where she will continue fighting for this administration. Maybe she is. But what she is leaving behind, a Justice Department about to get a more aggressive leader, an army being restructured in the middle of a war, and an administration that fires loyal cabinet members for not being aggressive enough, that is the story that does not end with her departure. It is just getting started. Subscribe for sharp, clear analysis of every development as this unfolds, because the firings are never just about the people being fired. They are about what comes next. And what comes next is what you need to watch. And if you find this helpful, hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell.